CTV Calgary, local breaking news.
Good afternoon. The province is pushing back against the federal government's firearms buyback plan. It wants to instruct all provincial entities to refuse to implement or enforce the federal policy. Since 2020, more than 2,500 types of assault-style firearms have been banned. Owners have until October 2026 to get rid of those guns or risk criminal charges for illegal possession of a prohibited firearm. There is a federal compensation program for those impacted by the ban. The province calls the federal plan an unconstitutional attack on the rights of Albertans, saying it will use all legal means necessary to resist it. The proposed legislation also aims to protect the rights of Albertans to use reasonable force to defend themselves in their own homes. The Forever Canadian petition to keep Alberta in Canada has passed Election Alberta's verification process. Former Deputy Premier Thomas Lukaszuk needed to gather more than 290,000 signatures in 90 days under the Citizen Initiative Act. He ended up with more than 438,000. Nearly 14% of eligible Albertans signed the petition. The proposal will now be brought to the Legislative Assembly, where it will be referred to a committee within 10 days. If it goes to the Lieutenant Governor for a referendum, it must be held before the next provincial election in October of 2027.
Now the real question arises, will the Premier do the right thing, or will she do the politically expedient thing? Our petition did not ask for a referendum. We purposely chose the legislative route, which gives her an opportunity to ask this question in the legislature and have all MLAs vote on it and put this issue to bed once and for all.
Alberta's Justice Minister says caucus and cabinet will now discuss how to proceed under the legislation. As City Council continues to make adjustments to next year's budget, the projected residential tax increase is coming down. The property tax has been cut down from 5.8% to around 1.2% due to several amendments, including canceling the planned tax shift from businesses to homes. Also changed, another increase in transit fares, with the single ride adult ticket climbing to $4 starting in January. Council is expected to finalize the budget sometime Tuesday. Fire investigators are looking into the cause of a fire in a business on Stephen Avenue this morning. Firefighters responded to a fire in the alley between Stephen Avenue and 9th Avenue Southwest at 8:50. Flames had spread to the attic of the retail store, and fire crews made sure the fire did not spread to any neighboring businesses. Additional fire crews responded because of the risk to other buildings downtown. No one was injured. No people were injured in this fire in Panorama Hills yesterday, but one cat died. Crews arrived to heavy smoke and flames at around 2 yesterday afternoon on Panamount Heights Northwest. Investigators are still determining a cause, but say it appears the fire started on the outside of the home. Anyone with information, photos, or videos is asked to email pio.fire@calgary.ca. Alberta Health Services is warning about a measles exposure at Calgary's airport. A person on board a KLM flight on November 22nd was flying while infectious. The flight arrived in Calgary at 1:30 that afternoon. Exposure locations include international arrivals, customs, and baggage claim. The infectious person also went to the Claresholm Hospital on November 24th. Anyone who develops symptoms should call the measles hotline before going to any healthcare facility. An animal unique to Canada is making a comeback, thanks in part to the Calgary Zoo's conservation program. The Vancouver Island marmot population was below 24, and now it's over 400. Andy Garland reports.
Sibling rivalry is a part of growing up for these two Vancouver Island marmots.
They're really rambunctious. They're a lot of fun to watch in the wild, and then they'll stop and they'll go and they'll boop noses, which is a pair bonding activity.
They are two of 427 Vancouver Island marmots that are in the wild today.
The early recovery plans that were drafted, 400 was the dream, right? That was sort of the initial kind of target. That was the goal.
It's taken the Marmot Recovery Foundation more than 2 decades to reach the 400 milestone.
The perspective that we try and take is, when we started this program, we could find 22. That was how many marmots we had left in the wild.
The foundation says that the most effective and strongest tool for population growth has been the captive breeding program they do, alongside the Calgary Zoo's Wilder Institute, as well as the Toronto Zoo.
It's important to recognize that when a population gets down to so few individuals out in the wild, it's really unlikely that they're going to recover without human intervention.
It's unbelievable. Without the efforts of all of the partners and without ex situ breeding for release into the wild, I can almost guarantee you that the Vancouver Island marmot would be extinct.
Even though they're seeing good reproduction numbers, all parties agree the marmots are not out of the woods yet, and more work still needs to be done.
Pups surviving to adulthood, I think we still have a bit of work left to go on that front. The other thing we want to see is good dispersal. So marmots moving around between colonies.
The foundation adds that all the work being done to bring back the Vancouver Island marmot from the brink of extinction is all because of donations from Canadians wanting to see this made-in-Canada species thrive. Andy Garland, CTV News.
Thanks for joining us. We'll have more on the top stories coming up on CTV News at 5 and 6 or anytime online at ctvnewscalgary.ca.